3 years ago, China surpassed the US to become the world's largest car market. Just as the newly rich Chinese are snapping up expensive cars, driving schools are popping up everywhere around the country. China is rapidly becoming a so-called country on wheels. Driving schools are churning out licensed drivers like cars rolling off the assembly lines. In today's Money Matters, we're looking at the fee increment in driving schools and the reasons behind it. The driving schools in the country call the wintertime the off-peak learning season. So between November till about mid-February, discounts were offered to attract students. But from March, when it's gradually warming up, experts say the number of learners will pick up. At the same time, the cost of learning to drive gets bumped up. News portal Sohu.com says that driving lessons will now be around $30 to $50 more expensive on average nationwide. Moving on, let's check out the fees in different driving schools in big Chinese cities. First up, let's look at Beijing. It is reported that driving schools in the capital city will be hiking up their fees by between $50 and $110 this year. It is likely that the new fee structure will start this month. This piece of news drove many to take up training classes last month instead. Next, how did the driving schools justify the fee increment? Well, the Beijing Traffic Management Bureau said that the steeper prices were for the longer classes. A new policy now requires learners to take up a minimum of 86 hours of classes. This is 7 hours longer than in the past. This nationwide policy applies to the C1, C2, and C5 driving licenses or to drive a sedan. It is reported that this new policy will be implemented next month. Learners will now have to pay between $730 and $810 for classes. Another change is one trainer can now only take up 40 learners at one time. It is said that this is a move to ensure the quality of training. Given the extra hours and the rationale behind the spike in prices, the majority of the learners in Beijing are fine with the new prices. This report comes from Jiakao, Yidiantong website. Next, let's turn to China's commercial hub, Shanghai. Like Beijing, the driving schools in Shanghai also plan to adjust their learning fees. The increment is anything between $35 and $50. Many schools said that the higher fees will start in March. The number of car learners jumped right after the Spring Festival for two big reasons. First, many have more time after the holidays. Second, with spring approaching, the weather is getting warmer, and insiders said that the high number of learners will continue till May. Now let's check out the fees at two top driving schools in the financial hub. It is reported that from March, at the Shanghai Driving School, one will have to fork out $700 or $50 additional. Dongcheng Driving School also pushed up its fees from $680 to $730. The Shanghai numbers come from Jianghui Morning Paper. Finally, both these schools said that the prices are notched up to make up for the steeper gasoline and labor costs. And don't go anywhere, because when we return, we'll take a look at the fees in Hefei, the provincial capital of Anhui. That's up next.